good. Is good. I don't even fully know where to start. I have been using this reference image to match colors. Teeny tiny one next to it. That's like a painting shirt. So this has become one of those. I have two now that are like a smock, basically. Today we're working on a painting I had started last fall with the intention of giving the final piece to my future mother-in-law for Christmas. Unfortunately, that's about the time all my FND symptoms really started, and I actually ended up in the hospital Christmas night. So instead of working on the painting, I was busy managing my new chronic pain, muscular weakness, and extreme fatigue. Needless to say, I did not finish the portrait in time to give it as a gift. And for months, it sat in our kitchen, waiting for me to finish it. And for at least a little while, I told myself that I would, as soon as my aching wrists could handle it, or my back, or my feet. I gotta be honest, I ran out of good excuses a couple weeks in. But once the pain was no longer in my way, my perfectionism reared its old, ugly head, and I was too afraid to paint it. I've talked about my FND on this channel, and I'll keep doing so, but today I want to focus on a barrier to art that plagues so many more people in all kinds of creative roles. Perfectionism isn't just about making something perfect. It can also be about procrastinating because you're too afraid to do it wrong. It can be about sabotaging yourself on purpose so that your best effort can't be deemed insufficient. It can be a deep anxiety that stops you from even starting. And perfectionism is deadly to your artistic practice. In every art form, whether it's singing, writing, or painting, we have to practice our skills to improve. You may have heard the old adage that you have to be bad to be good. In other words, you have to build up the skill by getting it wrong. You have to make mistakes, learn from them, and keep going and building until you get to that next level. And the worst part of it all is that there's no maxed out skill. Every artist is learning new ways to see their craft, experiment, and grow. A good artist is a learning artist. Even professionals still have room to improve. That's just the nature of art. Maybe you're learning the difference between alizarin crimson and cadmium red, and maybe someone else is learning about reflective light and shadow. Maybe someone else entirely is adept with color and light, but is still experimenting with the message their painting portrays and the social context in which it exists. Learning art is a continuum, only there is no definite end or beginning, only an evolution of thought, form, and idea, and unfortunately for us, it can only happen when we sit down and make it. Now, this is not my first portrait by a long shot. I've been drawing faces and parts of faces for as long as I could hold a crayon, and I've taken more than my fair share of art classes in high school, college, and even outside of academia. My best charcoal portraits hang in my home on newsprint paper, slowly getting yellower and yellower because at the time, it was just a sketch, random practice that didn't need to be museum quality. And those sketches were done by a very well-practiced Sophie who was drawing every day in a studio in college. But now I only break out the charcoal about once a year if I'm lucky. And even then, I'd much prefer to paint a landscape with acrylic. To say that I've gotten bad is not entirely correct. I still have the knowledge on how to mix color, how to create a composition, how to prepare and maintain my materials and things like that. What I've lost in practice is the ease of everything, the sight to look at light and color and shadow, and of course the deftness to recreate that with my hands and tools. The point of this painting was not to make a picture-perfect rendition. It was to paint me and my fiancé and gift it to her mom. And sure, I didn't have to give her a painting, but I wanted to make something meaningful, and I knew this would also stretch the bounds of my abilities in a good way. A painting can be incredibly personal. In effect, I'm giving someone an object that I've spent many contemplative hours creating. It's a piece that shows my struggle and success. It's an interpretation of a moment in time that brings me joy. And for my future mother-in-law, it will be a reminder of her daughter and future daughter-in-law and the closeness of family. For days, I couldn't figure out why our faces looked wrong in the portrait. And even though I wanted to fix it before I posted this video, I instead spent a few days too symptomatic to put paint to canvas. And that brings us back to the point of the video. This project was a battle between my mind wanting it to be perfect and my body wanting it to be done. FND has given me lots of limitations, and most of them translate directly to art. When I'm writing, I can only go as long as my fingers can type. When I'm singing, I can only go until my voice gets tired. So my art creating time may be limited, but because of that, I have to let go of this idea that I can make it perfect. Or else, I'd be sitting at this easel for months, even years, trying to learn all of my lessons in one painting. Sure, I already know a lot, but I've also forgotten quite a bit, and trying to make my first painting perfect after a couple of years would be like studying singing in a book in the hopes that your very first note on your very first try will be a perfectly in tune C. It's just not going to happen without practice. So this time, my perfectionism lost, and I'm happy about it. If painting was my creative career, sure, I would put more time into the practice. But for now, painting is still just a hobby, and that's okay. I don't have to be perfect, and when I give this to my future mother-in-law, she's going to love it. I know that because she loved a drawing I did of her daughter in crayon on a tablecloth, and that's what started this whole thing in the first place. This painting has never been about being a gallery-worthy piece. It's about finding a way back into the creative space and sharing something special with someone I love. Art is not about being perfect. Even those graphite pencil drawings that look exactly like a black and white photo are something more than just accuracy. Otherwise, we wouldn't value them any higher than their reference photo. And even photography, an art form in itself, is more than pointing a camera and clicking a button. It's about light and shadow, composition, framing, and so much more. Art is a vast and beautiful human tradition. Whether you're exploring the universe, your own self, or the human condition, art is a means to look deeper. And if there's anything I know about humanity, it's that it isn't perfect. Heck, even AI engineers know that in order to create a more human-like intelligence, they have to make mistakes. So today I sat down with my old acrylic paints in random assorted colors, my jar of water and my t-shirt rag to create something meaningful to me. And in doing so, I had to let go of a bit of perfectionism. I had to allow myself to mess it up, to make mistakes, and to paint over things. And most of all, I had to allow myself to be finished, even though the piece does not look how I wanted it to. Sitting down at this easel has brought me back to a part of myself that has been feeling lost. A part that I had pushed aside for months, maybe even years, because I had many good reasons to push it aside. But all those good reasons never really went away. And if there's one thing I know about art is that life doesn't make room for it. You do. So if you've forgotten the flow, that feeling you get when you're engrossed in your work, and how time just melts away, or if you miss those sunny afternoons in a studio jamming out to your playlist while you're throwing paint around, let yourself back in. Let yourself explore and play. And maybe you'll find that perfectionist voice in the back of your mind gets a little quieter with every piece you make. Practice doesn't make perfect, but it does make good art. Thank you so much for watching today. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and comment below. If you're not already subscribed, consider hitting that button while you're at it. It really does help me out. I will see you all next time, and as always, friends, happy creating.